64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 76. Tim Cappello, I Still Believe.
Welcome to I Caught It on Audio. In today's episode, we are continuing our Is This Song Good series. The theme this time around is Guilty Pleasures, and our song is I Still Believe by Tim Cappello. Zach, you picked this one. Why don't you tell us why?
Okay, so this is a song from the soundtrack of the Lost Boys, the film from 1987, with Corey Haim and Jason Patric and Kiefer Sutherland and Corey Feldman, and it was directed by Joel Schumacher. Nice little 80s vampire flick. And I remember when I watched the movie, probably not the first time, but one of the times, the main characters, which are the brothers, Corey Haim and Jason Patric, they had just moved to this coastal California town, and they are checking out the nightlife on the pier area. So they got carnival rides and games and stuff like that. And there's apparently a concert going on. And the guy up on the stage is playing sort of an 80s, a really basic 80s kind of rock song. And then he starts playing the saxophone, and he's just like making love to the saxophone, and he's writhing around, and he's got no shirt on, and he's very like greasy and sweaty. And the characters are actually like, I couldn't quite tell if the two brothers are like laughing because it just is such a ridiculous performance, or like what their reaction was kind of strange. But that scene always stuck out in my mind from that movie. And I really like the song. The song has a nice little vibe to it, but the saxophone parts are really like they make it what it is. And it's always been, one that I don't really want too many people knowing that I like the song. So I think it fits the guilty pleasure banner pretty well. I've always had this affection for these like power 80s songs, whether they're power ballads or except for Bed of Roses. That's why I draw the line there. Not, but like, no, mainly it seems like these songs from like soundtracks. So there's one from Critters is a very obscure song. There's just a bunch of these really power, like it's not, I don't consider them power ballads necessarily. It's like this power pop, I think would be the right way to say it. That it just has like this sort of like, it makes you feel strong inside or something, or like you can do anything, like you're invincible. And that's the feeling that I get when I hear these types of songs. And Nature of the Beast is another one, the one that we did, one of the previous podcasts. So this one, I really like the instrumentation of it. It's classic 80s stuff, but I love the use of the fretless bass, that in there is really adds to it. I think it's got good spatial, like it's not like all the instruments are all happening all at the same time, and it's really like dense and stuff. I think it has like good, starts off one way, and then a little guitar pops in, then a little there's kind of like the precursor with the sax at the beginning, and then later on it really comes in hard. Interestingly enough, I had no idea that this was a cover song. This is actually a cover of a band called The Call. And I started listening to some of their stuff, and I'm actually kind of liking a lot more of it. But I think this song does that song better justice than the original. So I think they added enough to it and made it a little bit more fancified. I don't know who Tim Cappello is. I don't think I still know who Tim Cappello is after kind of trying to look into more. He came out of nowhere, and he's only, I think, really popular for this song and nothing else. The song and the motifs of the guy without the shirt dancing around has been has shown up in lots of other and memeified and stuff. I think they did a riff on it in SNL on a digital short. They've done it in Family Guy. There was Peter Griffin doing shirtless sexy sex at one point with a big long hair mullet thing. So it's definitely made the rounds and is fairly well known. But I'm curious to see what you guys think about it, if I'm totally ridiculous in my liking this or not.
Well, I'll tell you, when you put up the song, and then there was a little back and forth in the chat about it, you wrote at one point, because you need to watch more Greasy Mullet Man making mouth love to saxophones. That's why.
Yep.
And so what that made me think of was John Hamm in the SNL skit. Now, I hadn't yet watched the actual video for this. I had been concentrating on the Aerosmith that we were listening to. And so I tossed that meme up there, and then later realized, oh, I get it. That's exactly what they were referring to. I didn't know that till I watched the video, the clip from the movie, and I was like, that's where that came from. Which is pretty funny. It was even better when John Hamm came out of the woman's birth canal with the saxophone covered in
amniotic fluid.
Yeah, pretty great. But I really don't remember this movie very well. I don't know if I ever actually watched it. I don't remember that scene at all. But when I watched it, I was like, holy crap, this is the 80s that ever 80'd. This is amazing. It's all I know about the guy is that he worked with Tina Turner, and there's lots of clips of them on stage, where he's touring with them and busting out the saxophone and stuff. And Zach, just to contradict you a little bit, what I wrote down initially was super catchy. It's a really good pop song. Sax necessary? ? No. Now that said, I listened to the original by The Call, which doesn't have any saxophone, and I'm a bit sax agnostic, if that's a phrase that I can just invent right now. I don't think that saxophone. I'm dubious of its value in sort of rock and pop music, but sometimes it's amazing. And I think once you see the visuals of him, gagging on the saxophone on stage, I'm like, this song must have the saxophone. I don't think you can get rid of this no matter what. I did also note the fretless bass is really cool. I do think that there's like that slight new wave influence on it. It's like an 80s power pop song, but it has a little bit of that new wave, and you can hear that more in the cover version, or the original version rather. And you're right, there's a lot of space. It just has a really good groove. I thought this song was really enjoyable to listen to. I just thought it was just a really good song, and it just grew on me the more I listened to it. So totally makes sense. Dave, what do you got on I Still Believe?
Usually I am sax positive, but this one did not do it for me. I can't put my finger on it exactly, but yeah, maybe it was because the initial introduction was with a greasy-haired, ponytailed man deep-throating a saxophone. That certainly didn't help. But yeah, the sax did not feel necessary, and the rest of it was pretty mundane as far as I'm concerned.
Without the visual, I would not be as convinced by the sax. I'll agree with you there. I was like, do I need the sax at the beginning? I don't know.
And it didn't help that, this was a clip from the Lost Boys movie, right?
Yeah.
And I could not for the life of me find where Matt Dillon and Rob Lowe and Emilio Estevez were in the cast of this movie. Because, I thought I didn't realize it was not The Outsiders, it was The Lost Boys.
Yeah. I don't know if there's two movies that could be any more different from the 80s than The Outsiders and Lost Boys.
Well, yeah, probably, but I've never seen the Lost Boys. And what I thought of, with all these 80s, Brat Pack people.
There are some famous 80s like heartthrobs for sure. I know what you're saying.
Where are these other guys? I don't, the ones that I remember from the movie.
What you got was Jason Patrick and Corey Haim, and there's Kiefer Sutherland. There's more, I'm sure, but that's what comes to mind initially. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Anything else you got on it?
No, that's
not for you.
That's not for me. Sorry. You can feel your guilt.
Yeah, I
do. That on IMDb they show a trailer, and the opening scene is this at the concert with the saxophone. Like,
Yep.
It's the first thing that you see when you go to IMDb.
It's what's amazing about it is that is the guy. Like, it looks like you'd be convinced that it's an actor who's like, well, that's not a musician. They just got somebody who they could lube up to get on stage. No, that's freaking Tim Cappello.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm doing this. It's startling and amazing and wonderful and ridiculous all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's the 80s. It's kind of great. Yeah, this it's funny. The nature of the beast, I didn't dislike it. But it's a similar type, song from a movie, sort of inspirational.
And that one I really liked.
And that one didn't really catch on for me. I didn't dislike it. I was just like, yeah, it's good. This one I liked more, whereas you did not. This one is a little more in the vein of St. Elmo's Fire, which is a song that I'm a little ashamed that I will listen to every time I hear it on the radio. Also, another movie soundtrack. I think there's a lot of saxophone on that one too. So
yeah.
But yeah, I know that was a pretty good song, I thought.
All right. Anything else?
I do want to do one last thing, if you guys are good. I want to read verbatim from the Wikipedia entry. One last thing to think about with Tim Cappello. In 2021, Tim was featured in a Netflix docuseries, Worn Stories, in which he tells about his relationship to his codpiece. First given to him by Tina Turner as a symbol of strength in the face of the ups and downs of the music business and the saxophone's regard or lack thereof in popular music. And I just think that is exactly correct after watching him in Lost Boys. That totally makes sense to me.
Well, there you go. That's happy. Anything else?
Now, what do we got next week?
So next week, we're going to do one of my guilty pleasures. And it is a Jim Steinman written, Meatloaf performed off of the comeback album Bat Outta Hell 2. And it's not the one you're thinking of. It's Objects in the Rearview Mirror May Appear Closer Than They Are.
Oh, it's the one I was thinking of. And you bastard for stealing the Steinman. I had a Steinman all lined up for next week. Now I got to rethink things. All right.
So if you liked what you heard, you can find all of our stuff at 64tacos.com. And if you really liked it, you can buy us a taco at buymeacoffee.com/64tacos. Thanks for listening.
I caught it on audio.